Last time I talked about my favorite mission in the original Halo trilogy, and today we're going to go to the opposite end of the spectrum. We're going to talk about the one mission that I wouldn't say I hate it, but every time it pops up, I'm never excited for it, and that is Halo Combat Evolves the Library. So, we're going to do a run through of this. We just have it on normal. Of course, as you can see here, we do have the anniversary graphics. We are going to be running them just because, honestly, the reasons why I dislike this mission really have nothing to do with the graphics. So, might as well have it look as nice as we can get it. So this is really the first campaign mission, and I think actually the only campaign mission in Halo 1 that is entirely Flood focused, which, as much as I do like the Flood, for whatever reason, I do feel that Halo 1 was the worst iteration of them. I just like the way that they played better in 2 and 3. However, at the time, this was all we had, but the library was always the one mission that whenever it would pop up, I was ready for it to be over. We are going to want that shotgun, so unfortunately, gotta play the little game here. So the main reason why I really dislike this level, or I don't love it as much as the other ones, truthfully comes down to the fact that the scenery is repetitive, and ultimately I feel that this is kind of the point in the game where Bungie did start reusing a lot of stuff that they had already used in earlier campaign missions. So a lot of the same geometry. Of course, the encounters were all difficult, or not difficult, but different, which was always something nice. But really, with 343 Guilty Spark, it's just a lot of the same geometry over and over and over again. Plus, there's really not a whole lot of anything interesting that really happens. During the times that we do have Spark hanging around, we do get little tidbits here and there about the Flood, but that's really it. The entire point of this mission is to get the key to activate the Halo array, which at this point, we really don't know a whole lot about it. We do hear throughout this mission that Halo was designed to take out the Flood, but it doesn't really give us a whole lot of information on it, which wasn't too bad, because I did like the big reveal at the start of 2 Betrayals that the Halo array doesn't actually kill the Flood, it kills other sentient life in the galaxy, and by destroying sentient life, that's how you defeat the Flood. Yeah, as you can hear, so this is the first of 10 portals, and so we've got a little while to go. I think it's 4 floors worth. I will say, though, as much as I do dislike this mission, it is probably one of the most rewarding to learn how to speedrun. I'm not going to really do a whole lot of that today just because it's something I have not practiced in a very long time. But a fair bit of this mission can be skipped, and it is pretty doable. There's just a couple parts that can be a little tricky, mostly because it's just a random rocket flood spawn here and there that'll get you. But overall, yeah, this was just one particular mission that whenever it would pop up, whenever I was doing a playthrough, I was so happy just to get it done and over with. But from this point here, this is really the last new piece of environment that you do get out of Halo 1. Everything moving forward you've already seen before. So Two Betrayals is essentially Assault on the Control Room backwards. Truth and Reconciliation Keys all takes place during the mission Truth and Reconciliation, and of course the Maw is the Pillar of Autumn. Again, even though it is a lot of the same locations, they did mix it up quite a bit so that the experience does feel unique with each one, but for this being the last unique location that we get to see in Halo 1, was always a little bummed out by it. Plus we just, like I said, we really didn't get a whole lot of plot. I mean, really the only thing that you're doing in this mission is just trying to get the index so that you can launch the Halo array, which it is an important plot point, but I just feel that the delivery for this mission is rather weak. But this did take place right after the big flood reveal. And like I said, you do get some tidbits here and there from Guilty Spark, kind of a little bit about the flood, some of the backstory. We do learn that, you know, these flood actually survived a previous Halo firing. So I guess, you know, if you are the chief, or to put yourself in the chief's shoes, you know, there would be an understanding that if this is all that's left from the flood, that obviously the Halo array works and might be worth exploring further. But Spark's a little deceptive. You know, we know that it works, but we just don't really know how. And we do get to see more of the Sentinels here. Carrier forms to me are what usually screwed me over whenever I would try to do legendary runs on this mission, just because of the fact, and truthfully I don't think they actually really address this until Halo 3, but it doesn't matter how much damage you put into the carrier forms, they will only blow up after they hit the ground, unlike in Halo 3 where you could just stick them with like a spike grenade and you could kill everything inside of it, all the little infection forms. Should we load up on shotgun rounds here? But shotgun AR combo was always kind of my go-to for this one. Just the assault rifle was nice with cleaning up a lot of the infection forms, which, especially on some of the higher difficulties, they could wipe you out pretty quick. And then the Halo 1 shotgun, of course, is just so good. The fact that you can almost use it a little bit kind of reminds me of the models from Modern Warfare 2. Just the range on it was absolutely insane. And there's one of those rocket flood now. I think we actually will pick that up, just in the off chance that you need it. I don't think we should, just because it's unnormal, but it does help just kind of blow right through enemies. But whoever decided to give the combat forms a rocket launcher, I mean, that's just a different kind of evil. It's not, I wouldn't say that this mission is as bad as Two Betrayals when it comes to that. Also, that little section over there, that's one of the spots that you can use for speed running. You would actually just kind of run the opposite way, and you would skip a lot of that over there. Can't remember if it would fully despawn all the enemies that would come in right here. but it was just a little nice way that, you know, you could make it through the mission and make it through hopefully a little more safe. But 2 betrayals, though, I feel like that's the mission where when it comes to the rocket flood that everybody thinks of, because there's that one little corridor where you turn the corner, and I guess actually you don't turn the corner. You make it about halfway through, and then a rocket flood just turns the corner and immediately shoots at you. And of course, the explosive radius in Halo 1 it's pretty forgiving. So even if you didn't take a direct hit, as long as it was relatively close, cause you to revert to the last checkpoint. Hopefully that took that one out. But what I meant to say, though, about the carrier forms is, like, even if you throw a grenade at them, they won't immediately blow up. They will just kind of bounce. And then it's not until after they land from the bounce, or they settle from the landing, that they'll blow up. So, like, you could have 2 carrier forms that'll blow up right next to each other. If one just blows up first, it's very possible that it could cause the other carrier form to go flying in a random direction. And I've had that happen a couple times where, unfortunately, that random direction was always right in front of me. So we're making it now. Going up the elevator again. As you can see, even in the original graphics, it's not a whole lot to look at. This is probably one of the few where I do prefer the more modern graphics, just because it does brighten everything up just enough. But I do think the kind of like the little bit of darkness did help early on with this game when it came to making the Flood have a little bit more of that horror element to it, just because you couldn't entirely see them. Where you could catch just like little silhouettes, and sometimes it definitely felt like you had to run a little bit further up. Yep, right there we go. So that's what I meant about the carrier forms bouncing. To me, Halo 3 did it the best, where, you know, there were definitely a lot more infection forms inside the carriers, but they definitely dropped when you put enough damage into them. Because again, just with some of the explosives in here, it would be very easy for things to get out of hand. I know they're going to be doing like another Halo 1 remaster, reboot, something along that end. What I would actually love to see them do with this mission is kind of have more stuff going on to show off, I guess, some of the Flood history, like showcasing pure forms, maybe some possibly infected combat forms from like the original conflict between the Flood. I think that would be interesting to see, and you know, maybe not make it as linear. So over there, there's actually a little terminal that you can grab that was added in the Anniversary Edition. They didn't exist originally, but it just kind of gave you a little bit more lore about the Flood and some of that earlier stuff, which was kind of a fun way to bring it over.
Their survival as a race was dependent upon it. I am grateful to see that some of them survived to reproduce.
But yeah, I mean, really, other than that, you know, I don't have a whole lot of bad to say about this particular mission. It's just, it just feels so tedious and monotonous, which is really the main reason why I'm not a big fan of it. And of course, you know, as later Halo games came out, I just felt that the flood combat was handled a little bit better. I mean, it is what it is. Like I said, you did get some interesting little tidbits here and there from Guilty Spark about the Flood, which Flood's always been really interesting to me. Initially, though, I wasn't a big fan of playing against them. I loved a lot of the lore behind them, but I would actually try to, a lot of times, skip the Flood missions, where it's kind of interesting, where nowadays I have a more positive impression of some of these campaign missions. And we did talk about how I think they did a really good job of introducing the Flood, and you know, even if this is one of my least favorite missions, I do think it does kind of help add some horror elements to the Flood, of where, you know, now we know that it's this ancient enemy that's been around for just a crazy long time, you know, to the point where there's this much more advanced species that had to go out and develop a super weapon, and even then this species isn't even around anymore. And something else, though, that Halo 1 really did a good job with the Flood is at certain points it just kind of feels like they spawn never-endingly, which really did do a good job of making it feel like you're combating a horde that's much larger than what it actually is. Because really, you're only getting a few combat forms on screen at any given time. But just by having them continuously spawn in, it really did do a good job of making it feel like, you know, you're not just fighting a handful, you're fighting, you know, maybe several dozen at a time. Just a cool little trick to save on assets and, you know, still give you that feeling of this is a very serious threat. And now we've made it up to the 4th floor here, so we are closing in on the end of the mission, but as you can tell, there really wasn't a whole lot of, you know, changes to the environment as we ran through. It's just kind of the same. And again, in terms of this being like, you know, a research facility, it's just not something that ever really kind of came across to me as I was playing through it. I really only knew it just because, hey, Spark tells you. So that is something I would like to see them do a little bit of a better job with. Whenever they do the new little Halo 1 reboot that's coming out. Again, no hate towards Bungie, because granted they were working with much more limited resources back then. Nobody knew that this was going to pan out to be, you know, the absolute hit that it was, and for the time, I mean, they did exactly what they needed to. But I would just love to see Halo Studios kind of go back, maybe just add some things in there, do what Bungie wasn't able to do at the time. Plus, I also think, you know, adding in some pure forms here and there would be kind of a cool way to help modernize it as well. I know typically you don't see them until the grave mines kind of developed a little bit more. And if I remember correctly on how the whole flood life cycle works, I think really keys only became like a proto mine, so kind of right before a grave mine takes place. Essentially the idea would be is that's what you would start off with before you got a full grave mine. You know, the flood would just be kind of acquiring mass. This is potentially the last little door we'll have to run through. Yep. We got a couple rockets here too, just to kind of keep everyone at bay once we open the door, because got to get some of our shields back. Go. We had the grenades clear out, so actually not as bad as what it normally is. I mean, even the shotgun in the hands of the flood could be deadly, but there you go. That's the library. I mean, to me, this is always just the one mission where I never get excited for it. You know, it's definitely, to me, the low point of Halo 1. But it does help progress the story along. I would just love to see them do a little bit more with it whenever they reboot it. Kind of have this be a place where you get just this massive dump on the flood. Plus, with the whole retcon of the Forerunners being an entirely different species instead of just ancient humans, I think, you know, there's so much that they could do with it. But yeah, so I think what we're going to do following this is I'll go through and I'll talk about my favorite level in each Bungie era Halo, and then we'll do my least favorite. So I'll pick a different one. I'll probably pick the one that comes in second for Halo 1, and yeah, we'll start off with Halo 1 and work our way up and end with Reach. But as always, thank you for watching, and we'll catch you next time.